I absolutely love Nish, but it's probably the best thing he ever did concerning Taskmaster.
That ungrateful piece of work.
What's with people?
Yeah. People are, we're all stupid, weak and scared a lot of the time. And, you know, but we're also capable of miracles. That's the issue with people, is that we can do the dumbest things imaginable and also conjure a magic trick. It's hard to know sometimes what's going on with people.
You do have Nish, Don't Kill My Vibe really coming out for
Yeah.
800 Pound Gorilla. In the show itself, you do mention that you were worried about if you were ever going to be even get allowed to be coming back into America again for things you've said. And then you say things that, are you afraid that you're not going to leave this time?
I'd say there's a couple of interesting bits of the show. There's one interesting routine that I would encourage people to watch in full. I believe it is intellectually defensible.
People will clip it too, I'm sure. Yeah.
What we need right now, Hackney, is a little unity. And tonight, let's just all come together and do nothing more than this. Agree on a single idea to take away. And let that idea be this. When Trump was shot at that rally, we would prefer he died. Let's just be honest here. There was one routine that I was concerned might have done something to my visa status. But so far, I'm in New York. I'm having a lovely time. There was some concern expressed by my family in London about me making this trip. But I'm here. I'm having a lovely time. I've always supported President Trump's agenda. Anyone who says otherwise is a liar and a wokeist.
Well, let's talk about angry comedy from a really nice guy,
Yeah.
because even here in Nish, Don't Kill My Vibe, you express for people who may not understand all of these things you talk about. Really, that's you. Like, this is me. It sounds like I'm screaming to you while you're on stage. That's not a lot of the vibe that people probably get from you when seeing you on TV and other things.
That's true. There's sort of two... people who've seen me do comedy have either experienced me doing quite sort of political satire or trying to drop-kick a water cooler on Taskmaster. And I think the thing that I'm trying to express in my stand-up is both of those things are true expressions of my personality. And the gap between what I do on stage and who I am off stage at this point is tracing paper thin. It's a wafer thin layer. And with Nish, Don't Kill My Vibe, the part of the impetus for that show was during the pandemic, I was walking on the kind of, the park near my house, doing our sort of daily walk. And I was on the phone to my brother who lives in Germany. And I was sort of just really going off on the then Conservative government in the UK. And I saw a guy kind of half recognise... I thought he'd half recognised me, but he didn't say anything, so then I thought I'd misinterpreted something. And then that guy had added me in a tweet, and when I got home, and he said, I saw Nish Kumar in the park, and it turns out it's not a character. And that is the kind of impetus of the show. Of the interest to me is in people realising, oh, this is not a front that you... I've watched people do it. They'll talk to me after the show about some political issue, and I'll start giving out, and you see this look in people's eyes of, he's actually like that. I did a show at a college here last year. Two people were leaving the show, and one of them said to the other one, he's invited to the cookout, and the other one said, no, I like his comedy, but I think he's always like that. I am both interested in politics and political issues, and I'm also a buffoon. Let me just fully contextualise what I'm trying to say, okay? My first preference is that he had never been shot at all. Don't boo that. The stand-up shows are always what I'm thinking about at any given moment. Unfortunately, a lot of what I'm thinking at any given moment in this instance is, I'm 40, So I'm thinking about that, but I'm also thinking about what it means for people my generation to come into political leadership, positions of political leadership. You can interpret this any way you want, but for better or worse, millennials are in power. And, you know, that runs the gamut from Mamdani to JD Vance.
Yeah,
so,
strange, yeah.
You know, that is something for people my age to reckon with, is what are we going to do with the political capital that is starting to come our way? That's the question that interests me, I think.
I don't know what this says about me, but I think the hardest I laughed during Nish Don't Kill My Vibe is Crown Shed. And it's the way that it came out of your mouth, because it sounded like you just thought about, like, I'm going to mention it as a shed now, you know?
Yeah.
Is that something that you actually kind of have, I need to fine tune specifically how some of this comes out?
Some of it you genuinely are trying to find a precise way to perform. Certainly, I would say when you're talking about potentially contentious subjects and when you wander into potentially explosive areas, you do want to be very much in control of every single thing that's coming out of your mouth. But you also want to leave room to surprise yourself. Crown Shed, I feel like, was something that I had said in that way before and I'd worked out how to say it. But there are definitely bits in the... And listen, there's bits in the stand-up show where we've left in the edit. I kind of surprised myself with a truly disgusting turn of phrase that I'd never said before. I think I was trying to say no skin off my teeth, and for some reason I ended up saying it is no skin off my dick to give this guy 1,000. I've never said that before. I can't believe. Which doesn't even really make sense. But we left it all in the edit, so you see me reckon with the disgustingness of that phrase, the fact that it doesn't make sense, and also question why I've decided to do that when we're filming it, when I've never said that before in any of the hundreds of performances of that show. It's nice to leave that stuff in there. So they decided to not use that crown because it's genuinely a diplomatic incident in prospect, and they stood it down and got a different crown from the Crown Shed. I don't know where these people keep their fucking crowns, I don't care.
Can you even believe?
I sort of can believe it, just because I feel like a lot of the things that people like me have been called cranks for worrying about are now coming to pass, and I've never felt less good about being right about something in my entire life.
We did recently see Alex and Greg here and spoke to them, and I brought up the fact that with Jason, you were the conduit for Jason, and even though I think Tim made the call for Kamal, it started with you inviting him and Emily to a party.
With Jason, I don't think I was the connect. Jason Mantzoukas and I became friends because we have similar faces. That's actually true. We have a mutual friend who said, you guys look similar, you should meet, when he was shooting something in London. And I adore Jason. I think Dennis Feinstein in Parks and Recreation is, you know, along with Dr. Leo Spacemin, one of those incredible, like, once-a-series cameos. The Pontiac Bandit, a.k.a. Doug Judy. These are great once a series, you know you're going to get a hit from those characters. And Jason, I think, is so funny. And so we met in London. And then during the pandemic, Jason and I were sort of, you know, we were just sort of texting to say, are you okay? And he said that he had started watching Taskmaster. And then he texted me again, and it really felt like he had really... I think like a lot of people in the States, there were early adopters, of course, but I think during the pandemic, a lot of people got big into Taskmaster on YouTube. Jason really got into it, and then the first time I came to LA after the COVID restrictions, which probably would have been in 2022, I had dinner with him, and he said, do you think it's a good idea for me to do the UK Taskmaster? And I said, that's a fantastic idea. Mainly because I knew it would annoy Kumail, because he'd been trying to be the first. There have been Americans, but Americans like Desiree Birch who live in the UK. Yeah, we've claimed Desiree Birch, essentially, now. I also felt the immediate tension of the comedic personas of Jason and Greg. I thought that would be a really fun flashpoint. He said, well, that's good, because I've already asked to do it.
Why I bring it up specifically, though, is because when I was talking to them, I said, you know, why is it that it seems that Nish all of a sudden is this conduit to Hollywood? And Greg's comment, and I want you to tell me what you think of this comment, was, I absolutely love Nish, but it's probably the best thing he ever did concerning Taskmaster.
that ungrateful piece of work. I'm very happy to, along with James Acaster and Tim Key, be part of the Taskmaster embassy to America. Possibly my most successful task on Taskmaster was the task I did with Jason. with Jason Mantzoukas. There's a group of us that are the worst, however you skew the numbers. Me, Roisin and Joe Wilkinson are still coming dead last.
You're series 5. So, and the way it's filmed, technically only like 3 have aired at that point.
Yeah.
So you're going into it personally, probably maybe thinking, I'm wondering if you were thinking, this is still, even though there's a competition aspect to it, it's still, I'm here to make people laugh and enjoy it. As it has become more of a people are obsessed with as a competition thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you did it later on, you would have done it a little differently?
No, I would have approached it exactly the same. I did the first thing that I thought of in every single instance. I went into it thinking I'd like to kick a water cooler. That was before I think I'd even think the task had even come up. Because when I was an office temp, it was my job to change the barrel on the water cooler. And for years, I had always thought, I'd like to kick that. There's a part of me that just wants to completely behave on impulse. And Taskmaster brought that side of me out. It was not the juggernaut, the global juggernaut it is now. But at the time, it was the coolest show to be on if you were a British comedian. And it's strange because the word cool does not sit easily alongside the faces of Alex Horne and Greg Davis. It's unfathomable to me that those two men would be cool in any context. There's no other context in which Alex Horne and Greg Davis would ever be cool. Such is the sort of nature of comedy that they were doing the coolest show. But it was, to give you an indication of how much smaller an operation it was, I got booked to do that show by Alex Horne phoning me. I was in my house and I saw Alex's number on my phone and I thought, I must want me to do some charity. It didn't really enter my mind. And also I thought if you got booked for a television show, they'd have to go through agents. But Alex phoned me. He said, do you want to do Taskmaster? I said, yeah. And he went, okay, great. And I said, is that how it works? And he said, yeah. I think there's a bit more of an operation around it now.
What's going on, man?
I don't know what's going on, man. I have a theory about what's going on. You know, I think what's going on in so much of what we're seeing around us is a sort of result of, you know, I think we never really properly did an inventory of what happened in the lead up to 2008, and we kind of financially punished ordinary people for the excesses and financial crimes committed by the financial sector. And so we, you know, particularly in the UK, we paid off the bank bailout by hacking the public sector to pieces. I think that kind of bred resentment. I think also we've handed over all of the systems of information to the tech sector, and we sort of trusted that those people would be fair custodians, and I don't know why we did that. You know, they're the biggest pack of magic bean salesmen we could ever have imagined. You know, and I think that's a huge problem. And I think that when information is controlled by oligarchs and when resources are scarce, that is the perfect breeding ground for racial resentment, for class-based resentment. And I think that so much of that is what you're seeing with the rise of politicians like Trump and Nigel Farage in the UK. And I would advise everybody, if you get the time, to read Doppelganger, Naomi Klein's book about online radicalization, because I think she's consistently asked all the right questions, you know, through the last kind of 30 years. And I think she is asking in that book all of the key questions that we need to be asking of ourselves right now. And so, I mean, I would say the only thing to do is try and recommit to long-form, meaningful discussions and rebuild actual political coalitions to push back against this stuff. Is that what you meant? Or did you just mean what's going on in your life? Because I just had quite a good Korean.
No, I like it. And I don't know how well you remember or not, but there's a task where they have to pull pineapples out of the water,
yes.
and then they turn the corner. And I asked them, like, do you turn the corner and do you really get upset? Or you go like, that's going to be funny. And he's like, no, that was very serious to me. I was so upset. Because to me, I would be like, that's going to be good.
The way that Alex briefs you about the show, don't try and be funny. Just trust that you trying to do the task is funny. And we've designed everything in such a way that you trying to do the task well will be funny. You know, it's such a brilliantly put together show, and he's got such an incredible brain, and it's made with so much love. I'm asked about things that happened that I did in that house all the time. There's people that still work on that show that were there when I was there because they love it, and it's made with so much love and care and attention, and that's why it works, really.
And finally, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is, well, listen, I like this blue. I bought this jacket because I like the blue of it, and so right now blue. I guess a default would be purple in deference to Prince. Shout out Cracked. This is a huge day for me. To be in Den of Geek and Cracked at the same time, this is big stuff, guys. I loved it.
I was like, I cannot wait to tell this story on stage.
You know that guy from the Chipmunks movies? The guy who stole the Chipmunks? Yeah. That's where he goes to get hand jobs.